Hello everyone, and welcome to Symphony Preview on Helena Civic Television. My name is Cameron. I'm the Director of Development and Communications with the Helena Symphony, and I am joined today by Maestro Alan R. Scott. Maestro, thank you so much for being here, and thank you to everyone for joining us from home. Happy New Year. We have a very exciting concert coming up on January 29th. Ravel's Piano Concerto with pianist Jon Nakamatsu. Can you tell us a little bit about Jon and why we should be so excited that he's joining us here in Helena?
Yeah, I think we bring in world-class artists of all kinds. But Jon has the unique distinction of being what is called a Van Cliburn gold medalist. It's a competition, as many, my career started by winning a competition as well. But Jon is a Van Cliburn, and it's named after the famous pianist Van Cliburn. Van Cliburn competition is for pianists who have no formal conservatory training. It's not that they didn't study, they did, but they didn't go get an artist diploma or an advanced degree or anything. He actually has his master's in education and his undergraduate in German. He was a German teacher. He taught German in public schools, but was like this phenomenal pianist. This goes back 20 years or more. And so he decided to participate in the Van Cliburn and won. And when you win the Van Cliburn, your career instantly skyrockets, and you are now have this unique distinction of being a Van Cliburn gold medalist. And so he performs all over the world, his full-time career. He teaches now at the San Francisco Conservatory, and he performs with orchestras nearly on every continent in every major city. He has been here before. It is astonishing to see and experience Jon. Jon has this gentle personality. I wouldn't say quiet, I suppose, but he's just this very kind and giving and transparent individual and artist who is so welcoming, and when you feel that when he plays. And I believe last time he was here has been several years, 5 or 6 years, and he did Tchaikovsky's Piano Concerto. Mm-hmm. So he's coming to play the Ravel, and when Jon and I talked, because he's been wanting to come back and we've been wanting to do some other things together, and I turned him, I said, let's do Ravel, G major. And he said, well, what about Prokofiev, about this? And I said, no, I really think you should do Ravel. And he says, God, I haven't done Ravel in so long. Ravel wrote 2 piano concertos. They were the last 2 things he wrote, effectively. He died. Ravel died with a brain dementia disease known as what we call today Pick's disease. It's very debilitating. You lose your ability to speak and communicate, and yet you have a lot, and as Ravel said, I have so much more music in my head. A very sad ending to his life. But he wrote these a few years before he died, starting in 1929. They were published in 32, I believe. And the one that we are doing is Piano Concerto in G major, but he also wrote one that's called the Piano Concerto for left hand. It's a one-hand concerto. But he wrote these. Ravel was quite the pianist, and he performed these himself in the United States, and never really got to do much of them because his disease set in, but he finished composing them. And Ravel was, the reason I wanted Jon to do these is because Ravel was not one for flash sake. He wanted to capture emotion and musical color, not just technique. He thought technique was boring, Ravel would say. But nonetheless, these require a great artist. The first and last movement have these Spanish-like dances, like bolero, and so much of Ravel's music. His mother was Basque, so he was fascinated with Spanish culture, as so much of the French composers were. And so you get this sort of Spanish type of influence, but you also get this American jazz influence. This is right in the heart of the end of the Roaring 20s into the 30s, when American jazz was all the rage. So you hear throughout sort of these blues melodic phrases, wah, 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 that kind of sounds throughout. And so it makes it fun and very youthful and bright and fun. It almost sounds Leonard Bernstein-like at times. It sounds Gershwin-like at times. It's sparkly and warm-hearted. And the second movement, the intimate movement, is a tearjerker. It sounds like it should have words or something. It's just so gorgeous and beautiful. It's the type of, if I were to take a picture of it, it would be just somebody with one tear just rolling down their cheek. It's that kind of sound. And Jon is fitted for this music because he can be flash, but he also has this ability to create an intimacy that you will feel like you're the only one in the concert hall. You're the only one he's playing to, and he has a way about him that I think will lend itself to this piece.
Wonderful. And so this concert, you know, the composers that you've chose to program are Ravel and Vaughan Williams. Can you tell us a little bit about why you think that this is a fitting beginning to 2022 and the year that we have ahead?
Well, the reason that strikes me, I don't necessarily know. I mean, Vaughan Williams studied with Ravel a little bit. Vaughan Williams is known as what they call the grandfather of English music. He was writing in the early 20th century. Every picture you see, he looks like an old grandfather with an old suit on, and he was very impacted by the wars. Many of the English composers were, Benjamin Britten especially, but Vaughan Williams especially. He was profoundly impacted by the wars, both world wars. And Ravel was writing this right during the Great Depression. Vaughan Williams wrote his Fifth Symphony right at the height of World War II. This is his Fifth Symphony, and of his symphonies, on his 80th birthday, they asked Vaughan Williams, "What piece do you want us to play of yours?" And he chose his Fifth Symphony. He says, "It's my most personal." It's this dreamlike, very English sounding. It sounds pastoral, very nature-like, as if we're, I call it something like if you were watching just the video without the words or the dialogue to like a Lord of the Rings, this pastoral journey type of thing. You feel like you're on something that's not quite of this world, or maybe like a Jane Austen book, like a Sense and Sensibility or Pride and Prejudice, that kind of landscape he captures musically. And you get that there's this unsettledness about reflection, but then he slowly escapes from it. And he likes using hymns, undercurrent, yet it becomes not a hymn, the sacred type of church-going type of sound. It becomes this very human prayer, very reflective, very spiritual. He has a way of capturing an escape, but without feeling like you've left this earth. It's a human type of spirituality. In addition to Vaughan Williams studying with Ravel, that's not so much the connection, I think. The connection is both of these works were written during troubling times. Ravel, like I said, during the Great Depression, wrote in 1929, which is when the stock market crashed. And Vaughan Williams during the peak of Europe's involvement in World War II. Both of these composers are finding a release. Now, Ravel's also writing at the end of his life. He has this brain dementia disease. There's that going on too. But both of these composers are somehow finding relief, release, a blanket of some sort of that is comforting and that allows for a smile and a sigh at the same time. And I think they're both very intimate. I like the playfulness of the Ravel. The orchestra is even a little smaller. The playfulness and the intimacy, but of the Ravel and the Vaughan Williams I like so much because of the musical landscape that makes us feel like we're not here, that we're taking a walk in the woods or something. It's that kind, or in a wheat field, very Montana-like even. It's that kind of reflection. And Transcendentalist would be a good, Walt Whitman poem. It feels like that to me. So both of these are potential, I think, responses to life and the world around it, which is often troubling. So I think this is where music can provide this that my words can't.
It's a very humanitarian sentiment almost, this idea that as much as the world changes and as much has happened in the last almost 100 years, how this music is still as relevant as it was the day that it was written, how the world will continue to face these challenging times, and in a way these amazing works will continue to be relevant and will speak to whatever we are going through for many, many years to come.
Yeah. I was just thinking that the Vaughan Williams came out the same year, in the 40s, as the musical Oklahoma by Rodgers and Hammerstein, which is a response to World War II. It was their first collaboration, one of the first landmark, what we call book musicals, where we involve the story, the music, and the dance as all unified. And it was a response, escapist entertainment. Today, that's like silly, TV shows and things that aren't real. Reality TV shows, there's nothing real about it, right? I mean, but it's like it's for the viewers, it's escapist entertainment. That's what American musical theater was at the time, and Oklahoma was sort of an escape from the war. This was Vaughan Williams' version of an escape, but it's not frivolous. It's something that's very profoundly personal and reflective. And I think we always, whether we were dealing with the pandemic or not, we're always dealing with something uniquely personal in life. Life is never peachy keen. We could have great days, but there's always something or someone who we know are in our life that's going through difficult times. And so we need the arts, we need music, and we need things like this Vaughan Williams Fifth Symphony, and we need the playfulness to be able to feel excited and bubbly and have a smile from the Ravel's Piano Concerto, and yet experience virtuosity at the same time. This is why art is art, because you're getting not just someone expressing emotion, you're getting it tied in with a virtuosity, an expertise, a mastery of a craft that takes it to something that is seeming like God-given. And so I think both of these works exemplify that. And it's just to experience then someone like Jon Nakamatsu on top of all this is what it means to experience great art.
Definitely. Yeah, and we would just like to take a moment to thank our sponsors and partners who make these incredible concerts possible. American Kemet, Gene and Ron Baldwin, so many amazing local individuals and businesses support symphonic music and support our organization and, what we really mean to this community. And it was a little over a year ago that we've really developed this new mission statement that I think has been really beautifully infused into everything that we've done over the last year to engage, enrich, transform, and inspire lives through music. And I think that this concert is a perfect example of that mission and of how one concert is so much bigger than just what it seems to be. It's so much bigger than just a concert.
Yeah. No, I think, and I love particularly the word that strikes me from the mission for this is inspire. These works are very inspiring. Sometimes I feel like we go through concerts that are transforming, they're epic and they're big, and they just feel like you're emotionally wiped from a concert. And these concerts are more spiritually engaging.
Definitely. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. We are so excited to get started on 2022 to give you all this wonderful, beautiful concert. Tickets are on sale online now or by calling the Symphony office. And we look forward to welcoming you all at the concert hall and online with Homestream Your Helena Symphony presented by AARP Montana. Thank you so much, and we'll see you again for next time for Symphony Preview.